Hello everyone. We are dealing with the study of characteristics of the population. Today we are going to discuss about seventh characteristic of the population, that is population dispersal. So the population dispersal means the movement of individuals and their offsprings or young ones into and out of the population is called as population dispersal. So this is just the movement of the individuals or the organisms of the population from the respective habitat or the ecosystem or the region, that is in or out. So this is just the movement, two-way movement of the organisms from the particular habitat or the ecosystem, and this is called as population dispersal. So this is just a inward or outward movement of the individuals and their offsprings in a respective habitat is called as population dispersal. There are three kinds of population dispersal. One, emigration. This is the one-way outward movement of the individuals from one place to the another. So this is the movement of the individuals from the respective habitat or the ecosystem or the region to the outside, or the outward movement of the individuals from one place to another is called as emigration. Means the individuals or the organisms of the population, they lives and moves outward from the particular place is called as emigration. So this is the outward movement of the individuals of the population and is one way outward movement of the individuals called as emigration. Then secondly, immigration. So it is also one way inward movement of the individuals from one place to another. Means the individuals of the population, they moves, or from the outside the organisms or the individuals, they come into the particular habitat or the region, and thus increasing the number of individuals in a population. So in case of emigration, since it is one way outward movement of the individuals from one place to another, indicating that the number of individuals of the population is decreasing. So there may be a decrease of number of individuals in a population due to the outward movement or the emigration. And immigration means the one way movement or the inward movement of the individuals from one place to another, means the individuals from certain other region comes into a population or in a particular region or the habitat, and thus there is an increase in a number of individuals in a population due to the immigration or addition of the individuals in a particular population. So immigration is also a one-way inward movement of the individuals, means the individuals from certain other habitat or certain other population comes into a particular region or in a particular population and increasing the number of individuals or in the population. That is immigration. Emigration is the outward movement and immigration is the inward movement of the individuals from one place to the another. Then migration, third type of population dispersal, that is migration. So migration is the two-way inward movement, two-way inward movement of the individuals, which involves periodic departure and return of the individuals in a particular region or in a particular habitat with a particular type of population or with a particular number of the population. So migration is a two-way inward movement of the individuals. Two-way inward movement of the individuals means the individuals can go out and can come back in a particular region periodically is called as a migration. So Migration is a two-way inward movement of the individuals which involves periodic departure and return of the individuals in a population. Migration are thus seasonal. Migration are thus seasonal or periodical. Migratory movements are very predictable. Migratory movements are very predictable or can be easily observed or easily measured among the fishes, birds, and the mammals with a long migratory routes, might be over hundreds of miles. So migration is a seasonal or a periodical uh, extinct or the activity found among the different animals where the individuals of the population can go out or can come back in a particular region, and this happens the periodically, or this is a seasonal. This uh, migratory activity or the habit is usually seen periodically or seasonally. So for the particular season the individuals undergoes the migration. Individuals of a particular population or the particular species undergoes a migration during a certain environmental conditions so as to overcome the odds or so as to overcome the odd situations or the unfavorable conditions of the environment. The certain species of the organisms has to migrate or move from the respective place so as to avoid some critical situation of the environment or some critical problematic condition of the environment, and thus the respective species or the population or the individuals has to move to the certain other place where they can get a safety place or a safety habitat, and on the return of the favorable conditions in the previous habitat they comes back after certain period. So migrations are thus seasonal or the periodical, and migratory movements are very predictable that can be easily observed or seen or predicted or measured among the different species of the fishes, birds, and the mammals, which shows long migratory routes, which shows long migratory routes might be over hundreds of miles. So this is about the migration. So there are three type of population dispersal. We will repeat them again. One, that is emigration, which is the one way, outway or outward movement. Emigration, which is the one way outward movement of the individuals from one place to another. Emigration, that is the outward movement of the individuals from the population. Immigration, that is inward movement. It is also a one way movement or inward movement of the individuals from one place to another. Immigration, that is outward movement, emigration, inward movement, immigration. Migration, two-way inward movement, two-way inward movement of the individuals, and which involves periodic departure, that is leaving off of the individuals from the respective habitat to certain other place, and a return means again the movement of the same individuals after certain period into the same habitat, and coming back or a return is called as a migration. So migration is thus a two-way inward movement, two-way inward movement of the individuals from the population, and it is periodical. The cause for migration or the reason behind the process of migration may be due to the unfavorable or the odd condition or the situations or the problematic conditions of the environment or the environmental factors, and which thus cause or was which thus enables the certain species of the individuals or the organisms to undergo the migration. That is the outward or the inward movement or departure or the return of the certain group of individuals of the respective population from the particular habitat periodically is called as migration. And migratory movements are predictable, or what one can easily observe, or we can determine or calculate the exact or actual number of individuals which has migrating from the respective place, and this will uh, show uh, the reduction in a number of the population. So that we can predict. So migratory movements are predictable, and this can be found among the fishes like aquatic organisms, then birds and mammals, and which shows the long migratory routes, means they can move much of the distance from the respective habitat, and shows or exhibits the migration. Then might be migratory routes might be over hundreds of miles. So the distance of the migration can also be much more and may be over hundreds of miles. Population dispersal is influenced by barriers and the potential power of migration of the individuals. So these are again two conditions which are also influencing or affecting the process of population dispersal. So population dispersal is influenced by barriers, maybe uh, large water bodies or the mountains. So these are the barriers which influence or affecting the population dispersal. Means the barriers, different type of barriers, maybe mountains or seas and oceans, large sized aquatic bodies or aquatic resources will become a limiting factor for the dispersal, so as to pass or so as to move a, a distance which will be ultimately become a barrier or limiting factor for the dispersal. So it is influenced by population dispersal is influenced by the barriers and the potential power of migration of the individuals. Means each of the individual of a population should have a potential power so as to pass or so as to provide the energy, large quantity of energy for the movements. Unless and until the particular individual will have a adequate power or the energy for the movement to pass through or to pass over a long distance of the migration so as to reach the final place or the final safety place or the destination, one has to have the adequate amount of energy or the potential power so as to carry out the migratory movement from one place to the other place. So the population dispersal is influenced by the barriers. So barriers like large sized water bodies like seas and oceans or the mountains will become a limiting factor for the dispersal. So these are the barriers. So the certain individuals cannot cross these barriers of the large water bodies or the mountains, and also the lesser power or the potential power or the energy so as to exhibit the migratory movements, that is also essential for the process of migration. So this needs energy, the long distance, so as to pass or so as to move through a longer distance, the individual have to have the adequate amount of energy in its body. So potential power of migration is also the limiting factor for the dispersal. That is inherent power of movements called as vigility. So this potential power of migration of the individual, which is the inherent ability or the capacity, inherent feature or the characteristic of the individual so as to exhibit the movements is called as vigility. So, the particular species should have the good uh, vigility, good vigility unless and until the particular individual have a good vigility or the potential power of migration, it cannot move over a long distance of the migration. Dispersal is also useful in a gene flow and speciation. Dispersal is also useful in a gene flow and gene speciation. So these are the two genetic aspects uh, which are also useful for the gene flow. That is uh, the spread of the organisms, spread of the individuals or the organisms of a population over various regions. So ultimately will result into the spread of the gene flow, and together with the speciation means again a species formation, speciation. So dispersal is also useful in a gene flow and in a speciation. So these are the two genetic aspects which are also to be considered for the process of dispersal. Dispersion, according to Ali's principle, so we have explained about three kind of dispersals: emigration, immigration, or migration. Now dispersion. What is dispersion? So according to Ali's principle, the dispersion or the distribution pattern among the individuals of population is called as the distribution or dispersion. So according to Ali's principle, the dispersion or the distribution pattern, pattern of distribution or pattern of dispersal or the pattern of dispersion or the distribution of the individuals of the population is called as a dispersion. So according to Ali's principle, there are three type of dispersion. There are three type of dispersion or the distribution pattern. There are three type of dispersion or the distribution pattern which are explained by the ecologist, namely Ali's. According to Ali's principle, the distribution or distribution pattern of the individuals of a population in a particular region is of three types. So first one, that is the random distribution. First one is random distribution. This distribution is random or individuals rarely aggregates together. Means the individuals of the population can occur or can appear in a particular spot or in a particular region at any time. So there is no a specific pattern or availability of the individuals or the organisms of the population in a particular region. Means the distribution is random, so or irregular. The organisms or the individuals, they rarely aggregates together without any specific pattern, without any specific pattern. So they can appear irregularly in a various regions, maybe singly, maybe two, three, or may have more number of organisms living together, occurring together in a particular region or the particular habitat. So this is a random distribution. This distribution is random or the individuals rarely aggregates together without any specific pattern. In this case, individuals occurring irregularly, in this case, individuals occurring irregularly at any spot at any time, at any spot any time, means this is simply a random distribution of the, means there is no specific pattern of presence or availability of the individuals or the organisms of the particular species or a population. That is called as random distribution. Then uniform distribution, second type of dispersion or the distribution pattern is called as uniform distribution. In this type, distribution of individuals is regular and even or uniform throughout the region, throughout the area, or in a particular area there is a even distribution or uniform distribution or the occurrence of the individuals of the particular population or a species called as uniform distribution. In this type, distribution of individual is regular or even or uniform. Individuals are distributed regularly, evenly in a entire area of the region or the habitat. Uniform distribution is found in places where there is a severe competition among them. Uniform distribution is found in the places or the regions where there is a severe competition among the members of the species or among the members of population, and this might be due to for the competition may be for a food or for the mates, for the either for the feeding activities or the breeding activities. The competition may be for feeding purpose or a breeding purpose, and since there is a competition either for the food purpose or the breeding purpose, the individuals ultimately shows a regular or uniform or even distribution of the individuals throughout the area or the population. So in a random distribution, the individuals of the population occurs irregularly, or they aggregates rarely, or there is a irregular pattern of distribution at any spot at any time happening in a random distribution. So there is a random or irregular distribution of the individuals of the population in a random distribution. In uniform distribution, the distribution of the individuals is regular or even or uniform, and the uniform distribution or the even distribution or the regular distribution means there is a regular pattern or the availability of the individuals of the population, and this is a this type of pattern is found in the places where there is a severe competition among the members of the population. The competition may be for the food purpose or may be for the breeding purpose. Then third type of pattern of the dispersion, that is clumped distribution or dispersion, clumped distribution or a dispersion. In this type, distribution of the individuals are clumped or grouped in a limited area, and this is the most common pattern of the distribution. This is the most common pattern of the distribution, that is the individuals of the population which are occurring in the form of groups, that is clumping or grouping of the members of certain number of the individuals of the species in a particular area. Means there are groups, and pattern is controlled by this pattern is controlled by the biotic, environmental and the climatic conditions of the area. So maybe this may be in the form of food organisms, availability of the food or availability of the water resource or the temperature or the weather conditions. So whatever the environmental factors or the parameters which are present in the particular vicinity or in the area to which a certain species of organisms or a population is adopted. So this particular environmental condition which is suited or which is suitable for the particular population, and due to this only the certain number of individuals of a species or the population can live in the form of groups in a particular area. So this clumped distribution or the dispersion of the population can occur or can controlled due to the certain biotic, environmental and the climatic conditions of the area. The degree of clumping or crowding, the degree of clumping or crowding and the pattern of distribution are useful in determining the interaction between the members of same or the different species of the area. So determine, we can determine the type of interaction. We can determine the type of interaction between the members of the same species or the different species of the area on the basis of the degree of clumping or crowding, and the pattern of distribution. Degree of clumping or crowding and the pattern of distribution are useful for the determination of the interaction between members of the same or different species of the area. So this is about the three type of dispersals and three type of distribution pattern or the dispersion. So this is the figure below. The given figure shows the distribution pattern or the dispersion pattern of the individuals in a population. So in first figure, we can see in a first square, see there is a uniform distribution of the individuals in a particular area or in a population in a definite number of individuals of the population in a particular area or in a given area. It shows regular or uniform distribution of the individuals all over the habitat or the area. In a second square, we can see it is a grouped or clumped distribution pattern. Means the groups, there are several groups or troops or the clumps of a definite number of the organisms of the species which are occurring in a different regions in the form of patches or the groups or the clumps. So this is a clumped distribution or dispersion pattern or distribution pattern of the individuals, that is representing the group of the individuals or the members of the population. And in third square, we can see there is a random distribution. The individuals of the population or the organisms of the population or the species may occur in the form of groups or singly individual members, means there is no specific pattern. There is a no specific pattern of distribution of organisms of the population where uh, the individuals may occur or may found singly or individually in a particular region or may in the form of a group, may in the form of groups. So there is a random distribution in a third square. So uniform or clump or random. So these are the three type of dispersion or distribution pattern be observed, which can be observed among the population. So in a population dispersal, so population dispersal is also having great importance in the environment, and the environmental conditions broadly, or we can say the environmental conditions or the factors of the respective region or the habitat or the ecosystem is responsible for the process of dispersal, that is the movement of organisms or the movement of the individuals of the population may belonging to single species or different species, but they shows a kind of movements, periodical movements or the migratory movements from the respective habitat to certain other place, and this is found in the nature or in the environment or in a particular ecosystem as per the environmental conditions available. So environmental conditions may suit or means may become favorable or unfavorable will lead into the process of dispersal. Even the activities like competition or breeding, there are certain organisms or the individuals or the species which has to migrate uh, for, uh, for the definite period of year, either for breeding purpose, means they have to, for example, fishes, catadromous and anadromous species will have to migrate from the particular habitat, maybe from the fresh water to marine water or brackish water to fresh water habitat for the breeding purpose. So unless and until they exhibit or undergo such type of migratory movements, they cannot breed, they cannot undergo the process of reproduction. So this might be the essential requirement. This might be the essential requirement of the individuals of the population to undergo the dispersal, or this may be due to the unfavorable conditions of the environment so as to resist, so as to overcome the odd conditions of the environment. Certain species have to migrate to avoid the critical conditions of the environment. They have to move and have to go to certain other or a safety or favorable conditions or the favorable environment for the definite period of the year. So migrations, immigration or the migrations, so these are just the movements of the organisms, inward or the outward movements of the individuals of the species or the population, and so as to satisfy the particular requirement, so as to undergo a particular activity, the individuals of the population has to undergo or show the migratory movements. So migration and dispersion is again another aspect, that is dispersion means a distribution pattern. So this is again another type of situation may found among the population, where the individuals of the population may occur in a uniform distribution regularly in a particular region, may be in the form of groups, or there may be a random distribution pattern, may occur separate or solitary or individual species or individual organisms in a particular region, or maybe in the form of groups, means there is no specific pattern of distribution of the individuals or the organisms of the population. So this is about the population dispersal, uh, which includes three type of dispersal: emigration, immigration, and the migration. Outward movement of the individuals, inward movement of the individuals, and two-way movement of the individuals, that is emigration, immigration, and the migration, together with three type of dispersion, that is random distribution, uniform distribution, and the clumped distribution of the individuals of the population. So this is the important characteristic of the population. Next time we'll continue with next characteristic, that is the growth curves. So today with this, that is the population dispersal and the population dispersion, will stop here, and next time we'll continue with next topic, that is growth curves. Thank you.